what's going on world. So, people were telling me that I need to look at this and I need to react to it because there's some inside information about Ubisoft in here, and it's a really good one. So, go ahead and take a look at what Legendary Drops has to say about it. If you guys haven't known, I've been covering this series for almost 3 months now, about this game, the controversy. I've done tons of videos, did everything I possibly could to, back up Japan and, do the right things, defend them, speak up to, and yeah, we came a long way. And look at what all this work did. They delayed it. They realized what's going on. There's some stuff going on behind the scenes because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Their stock is dropping all over the place. And yeah, that's why we got to keep on fighting this fight and know that we're going to win and they're going to lose because they're wrong and we're right. Um, and yeah, never back down to wrong. So I appreciate it. If you guys would like, send and subscribe too. Gonna be supporting somebody intelligent who's always gonna be doing the right thing here. It's gonna be epic content. My biggest stream game and content game that I say is around the corner. It's gonna be Dragon Ball Sparking. I cannot wait for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I've played all the Budokai Tenkaichi series. I've been playing Dragon Ball since freaking Super Nintendo when they had Hyper Dimension, Super Boruto 1 and 2. That was in the 90s days. I've been gaming for over 30 years, so yeah, long time gamer here. But let's see what he has to say here, and let's jump right in.
Things at Ubisoft are far worse than I ever could have imagined. After my last video chronicling the rise and fall of Ubisoft, I had both current and former Ubisoft developers reach out for comment. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the issues that the studios face today from the perspective of their own employees. Everything from Me Too movement allegations to agenda-driven content. I want to contrast the comments made in these interviews with what we've seen from Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. This company has a deep-rooted leadership issue, going as far to think that the vast majority of online criticism is just a toxic minority of gamers. This company and its leadership think that they are on the righteous path. Little do they know, it's a dead end. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been steeped in controversy and criticism since its initial reveal. Online discourse surrounding the game has been almost entirely negative, with long-term fans of the franchise, general audience, and Japanese audiences up in arms over the creative liberties that Ubisoft has taken with the depiction of Yasuke, the fabled Black Samurai, and feudal Japan. Japanese creators, as well as just random bystanders, have taken to Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube and Reddit, voicing their concerns offended by the game's representation of their history and culture. Inaccuracies like using Chinese architecture instead of Japanese, the legitimacy and relevance of the game's protagonist Yasuke, and even going as far as stealing a flag and imagery from the Sekihara Teppo Tai, a historical reenactment group where the company had to formally apologize for not asking for permission to use their materials. Ubisoft's adventure into Japanese history has been a complete disaster, and it's only going to get worse. On September 11th of 2024, an article was penned by the New York Times titled "The Fight Over a Black Samurai in Assassin's Creed." The writer, Zachary Small, misrepresents the controversy and player concerns as merely those of a toxic minority of
Yeah, you see that type of mindset right here, and this is what feels like the black culture to think that too, where it's like you idiot, like that's not gonna work here. We're not going for that anymore. That stuff is so played out, and it's not gonna work. And it's such a simple-minded tactic, and you have to be not smart at all to fall for that type of crap. Definitely when we have identified so many issues in this game that even if you removed Yasuke and you replaced him with any other culture, the same problem would be here. He just wouldn't, this focus just wouldn't be on worrying about that because they want to use that as a shield so people can ignore all the wrongs outside of that. There's so many problems with this game. It's not even funny. And trying to make it like pinpoint on him, like if that is the sole problem, the core problem of this game, is absolutely stupid. That is just such a narrow-minded tunnel vision with no light at the end of that tunnel point of view. There's way more wrong with this game. And if you guys want proof of that, you can go look at the history on my channel and look at all my videos. And I say go all the way back to where you see me do my first thing about Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's about probably 2 months ago. Because like I said, I've done so many videos on this. I got a own library of myself doing it. I've done everything you possibly could. So yeah, that's just crazy. That type of statement. Like I can't stand people like that.
Angry Western gamers, and the entire time he fixates on the race of Yasuke and not the broader implications at play in Ubisoft's mishandling and the frank disrespect for Japanese culture and history. This article was a collaboration between Ubisoft and the New York Times in an attempt to redirect the discussions surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows and minimize the feedback. The writer spoke with Kazuma Hashimoto, a consultant and translator for the games industry, later to be found out to be an employee of Sweet Baby Incorporated that did consultant work for Ubisoft. But Hashimoto claimed that it was people in the West who were upset with seeing Yasuke as a samurai, and that many of the online negative comments were written in Japanese, appeared to be roughly translated from English, effectively.
Yeah, I covered that. We already debunked that and exposed all that stuff. But I know what he's talking about, though. Yeah, that guy's a sellout, and he was a Sweet Baby Inc. consultant for sure.
Hand-waving the increasingly loud and valid concerns of the Japanese, asserting that it's all made-up outrage. Nothing more than the gamers' war against DEI or inclusivity in video games.
Yeah, okay.
I find it all too poetic and predictable for a AAA publisher to brush off player concerns and use their connections in the media to try to steer public discourse and sentiment into a favorable direction. All of these claims made by the New York Times, as well as other writers, are patently false. You can see.
I mean, just if you see that scene right there with him receiving a Japanese and reading Japanese, like, you people are so immature. Do you know how long it takes to learn Japanese? Look it up, guys. You know how long it takes to become a samurai? Look it up. You know how long it takes to be a legendary samurai? Look it up. You know how long it takes to wield that club that he's wielding? Look it up. You know how long it takes to become good at karate? Look it up. Yeah, let's do all this in 15 months. Morons.
The criticisms of Ubisoft's recent releases and the future release in Assassin's Creed Shadows everywhere. It's impossible to ignore. Videos and promotional material ratioed by dislikes and comments in mass numbers. Videos like mine and many others reaching widespread appeal because we have that many people that agree or share similar opinions. With that said, I couldn't imagine that it was possible for anyone to ignore this level of feedback, and Ubisoft has to be seeing it. So I spoke with a few developers from Ubisoft to shed some light on these issues. I started off by asking how Ubisoft internalizes and discusses general criticism from players and the rest of the industry, whether that's its repetitive design, agenda-driven content, or predictable games. They responded saying, at a high level, they rarely talk about it. At a project level, they brush it off as toxic gamer talk. As Asmongold correctly pointed out in a video of his, Ubisoft is filled with toxic positivity that prevents any growth. I then asked, what about the Japanese community's backlash over Assassin's Creed Shadows? It's obvious that they haven't done their research, and even the smallest details are going to be noticed by a culture that's as proud as the Japanese. They responded by saying that the criticisms haven't been talked about, and they've only issued demands that we mustn't engage with discussion on that topic publicly.
See, these last two comments that he just shared is absolutely the mindset of a mafia invasion. It's almost like somebody coming into your hometown and trying to tell you what they want to push and putting a gun to your face or putting a boot on your face, and you cannot go against it and you must comply. Just reminds me of a Marxist mentality that we see in the far left. We got to be careful with this type of stuff, and by any means necessary must we shut it down and get it the hell out of here. There's no sin of freedom in any of that, let me tell you.
Meaning everything that we've said up until this point, all the criticism that we've had over the years for Ubisoft games, even that of the industry itself, has fallen on deaf ears. I don't know if it's sad or if it's somewhat, it's somewhat cathartic to have that validated. I mean, it's the main complaint that the vast majority of gamers have had over the years, which is that these companies aren't listening to us. And in this case, I have developers that are telling me, yeah, they're not listening to you. One, because they don't want to take criticism, and two, because they don't know how to differentiate bad from good criticism. I think this is my patented catchphrase by now, but when you have this much negative discourse surrounding your games, you need to be listening.
That's
regardless of whether or not it's good or bad feedback in your eyes, regardless if you align with these people's political beliefs or social political beliefs or whatever it might be. None of that matters. When you have your games on fire as much as Ubisoft games have been lately, you need to put those fires out somehow. And the
Hmm.
only way that you can do that is by listening to them
That's
and
right.
implementing whatever feedback you possibly can into your games to make them better. Regardless, the other thing is, I'm sorry. I am disgusted by the blatant, feigned virtue over how much they care about Japanese culture and history. I'm sorry. You are bastardizing Japanese culture and history for profit.
Hmm.
That's what you're trying to do here. You're not trying to make a history piece. We know that. It's very loosely based on Japanese culture and history. Look at you guys. You put out a Torigate figurine, a half Torigate figurine with your characters on it without knowing the cultural relevance of the half Torigate.
Oh no, they know what it is, and then they put a black character in front of that. It's like, what are you doing? Oh yeah, I know what you're doing. Yeah, it's not an accident.
After Hiroshima and Nagasaki, do you have any idea what that means to these people? What's wrong with you?
Hmm.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to leadership. When you look at Ubisoft's messaging, the lackluster delivery of titles like XDefiant and Star Wars Outlaws, the inaccuracies and screw ups with Assassin's Creed Shadows, you see a developer that has no clear plan or vision for what players want, what good games look like, or how to even do their job. I took the time to talk to the Ubisoft developers about workplace culture, about the initiative that they've taken for diversity hiring, and what happens behind the scenes at Ubisoft. And it's wild to see how accurate some of the assumptions that have been made by myself and others. Now, continuing my conversation with one of the developers, I wanted to find more about the workplace structure and management. And seeing as though the company has had initiatives that have been put in place to make the workplace a little bit more diverse, I asked, what benefits have you seen? Is there more diversity in thought, or is it creating a more one-sided environment? They said that so far the initiative hasn't had any impact on the team that I'm a part of. However, it's clear that some topics are taboo. What happened is now that people end up in a meeting with HR for trivial stuff, not adding smiley faces to a message or adding an exclamation point at the end of a message because some people are reporting it for harassment. One of the things that wasn't in your video is that Ubisoft had some controversy during the Me Too period, letting go of a manager in high positions, and some left on their own because they knew they'd be discovered. I then asked what was the impact of this in the workplace. They responded by saying the editorial direction and overall mindset shifted from the boys club to safe content. Reaching for plain characters like Kay and Star Wars is a perfect example of this. The idea to have beautiful characters such as Baldur's Gate or Uncharted is met with distrust. The developer
Oh boy, beautiful characters. Hold on, y'all ready? Elon Musk had posted this, by the way, and apparently hurt this guy's feelings when he posted this saying DEI kills art. The guy could not handle the post. Let me go down here. Actually, you know what? Let's back out here. Let's go ahead and find the post right here. Speaking to journalists, Musk wrote, DEI kills art. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, though that's not the case. Coty replied that he had seen the tweet and was tempted to respond to Musk, but ultimately chose not to. That tweet generated emotions that the first thing I wanted to do was go back on X that I had deleted and tweet back, he explained. And I just took a step back. I had a mindfulness app on my phone. Oh, God. And I did a bit of mindfulness to try to explore the emotions that this tweet created. For me, Elon, it's sad. He's just feeding hatred. I had a lot of three-word replies that came to mind. Kote came to the conclusion that fighting back wouldn't win the game. Any new followers saying by attacking someone like Elon, I would not convince people about our point of view as a team. He's just telling you the truth. DEI kills art. Point blank simple. Yeah. You want to look at Concord? Yeah, I don't think I don't I Yeah, I don't think we need to do that. Yo, you want to look at what they did to Kay on Star Wars? No, actually, you know what? We don't need to do this, but everyone knows, like,
Developer shared sentiment saying that safe content also leads to limited opportunities on the gameplay side. Even for Star Wars, we had to work with Disney, which would have shut down most attempts at depicting a true criminal underworld with cruelty and drama. When you put this developer's perspective in line with the recent failures and controversies at Ubisoft or any AAA developer at this point, it all makes sense. An overcorrection in sensitivity brought on by the boys club days that many studios experienced during their early years. As such, many games today lack the teeth and grit that players crave because those things are seen as problematic or unsafe to make. And
yeah, feminize everything in an industry that's ruled by a disciplined, ordered, loving, professional, industry. Masculine light. You know what I mean? Man is the head. Man is the leadership. Don't ever mess with the masculine principle. Don't ever try to feminize it. It does not turn out well.
in the workplace, don't use emojis or exclamation points. You could offend someone. Holy shit. How soft have we gotten? It reminds me of the time where the Helldivers 2 community manager went on a ban spree on their Discord because players were using a throw-up emoji on furry art that was posted in their Discord. Sometimes people need to be offended. While I'm going to try to resist the pull yourself up by your bootstraps tirade, friction on some levels is necessary in life. Now, that doesn't mean that people should be allowed to openly harass others, but there are major issues that arise when you have emojis that can get you fired. This overreaction and overcorrection leads to a workplace that is actively hostile towards freedom of thought, expression, and criticism. As one of the interviewees mentioned earlier, they noticed a culture of toxic positivity. From my perspective, toxic positivity is fake people saying fake things, and in the case of Ubisoft, making fake products. Nobody wants to live their entire life being terrified that someone is going to misunderstand them. And when you're at a studio like Ubisoft and you're not even allowed to make characters attractive, otherwise it might upset people at the studio, you have a problem. This culture of fear and forced uniformity stifles creativity and innovation. It's no wonder that Ubisoft is struggling to produce anything of real substance when their own developers are walking on eggshells, more worried about HR complaints than creating groundbreaking games. How can you make bold, impactful content when every idea is scrutinized for being too risky, too offensive, or too unsafe? It's a workplace where
Damn, bro, how many vaginas do you have in that office, and males with them too? I'm just curious. And just pride flags all over the place. Nothing against y'all that don't do anything to each other, but I'm just saying that just does not sound like the masculine principle to me.
mediocrity is rewarded, and where pushing boundaries, the very things that games are supposed to do, is seen as a liability. This workplace culture, this overreaction and overcorrection has infected just about every single industry that's out there. I worked in construction for 7 years up until last December, and the company that I worked for was more afraid of HR issues than they were of injuries. We worked with hydrogen sulfide and hydrogen cyanide, gases that, if released, could kill half of a city. You know, we've discussed modern audiences, the mythical, magical modern audiences, and soft modern games. We found the audience. It's the people that are running these companies nowadays. You have folks that are walking around on eggshells, afraid to say anything. Anecdotal, but just like a few weeks ago or a month.
That's called a DEI boot camp, brother. Yeah, they feel like they see it used to be physically on your face. Now it's mentally in your mind, where your mind is trapped. And you're programmed to just be like this mentally and walk around that way, and you can't like even look to want to rebel. Oh, you lose all your income, you lose your job, you lose everything, right? And they jack up the price of everything. Oh yeah, it's a different type of boot camp now.
Month ago or so, I remember I was live streaming, and instinctively I said something was retarded. I'm a millennial. We all grew up saying it. It's a product of my upbringing. Say what you will. I didn't say it consciously. It just came out. And one of my chatters pops up and says, "How often do you say that word?" I banned the fuck out of them. Get the fuck out of here with that. Are you kidding me? People that are out there that are waiting, prepared to be offended. I'm sick of it.
Yep.
You cannot have workplaces that are out there where every single thing that you say, you have to watch every word that comes out of your mouth. Otherwise, it could be your livelihood. And I'm not saying that you can walk around saying anything. That's not what this is.
No.
Everybody knows. I think that's the most frustrating part when you have these kind of conversations is that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's right.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. But the intellectual dishonesty around this kind of thing is just, it's fucking mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
We have workplace environments that actively work against any type of creative or constructive criticism. That's how you get games like this. This is how games and products are being ruined over time, is because nobody's allowed to criticize things properly. You have people in the workplace that are like, I don't think that these characters are going to be received.
Yeah, so basically what he's saying, like I was saying too, now developers don't have that freedom and creativity to where they're doing something with joy and love and working together, getting the right amount of rest. Now it's like this crunched fear handicap development with just enforced weirdness in it. Yeah, I don't expect that product to be amazing.
Received well by the fans, but they're not allowed to say anything about it. They can't say it's not hot enough. It's not masculine enough. They can't say that because it's problematic to say so.
Yeah. 100%, man.
Tame and safe are the antonyms of exciting and daring. Baldur's Gate 3 was exciting and daring.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars Outlaws, tame and safe.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's their poor job at representing Japan or the trailers of Assassin's Creed, there are clearly levels of incompetency at work. As many players have pointed out in the game trailers, the promotional materials that are meant to sell the game, you can see frame rate issues, texture issues, poor collision detection, weapons clipping through characters, and more. Controversies aside, this game doesn't look like it's ready for launch, and in fact, its developer just recently came out and canceled their appearance at Tokyo Game Show and announced that the game would be delayed until February.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the delay, Ubisoft CEO recently issued a memo to their employees that ended up getting leaked publicly, and it showcases just how out of touch this company is with their players. Rather than acknowledging their real missteps, they're clinging to critic scores, pointing out Star Wars Outlaws had a solid 76 on Metacritic. Oh, I didn't know that you were trying to sell the game to game reviewers. That makes a lot of sense, seeing as though that you're completely ignoring player feedback that clearly shows that your game is hovering in mediocrity. Even worse, they believe that Black Friday sales are somehow going to magically turn things around, not realizing...
Bro, Star Wars is one of the most epic franchises of all time. You should shake the entire world. You're satisfied with a mediocre 76 with a DEI hood-looking faced character? Does it look nowhere near as good as the model? Unfinished, unpolished, unpolished. Like, what happened to like quality on everything? This is supposed to be like 85 plus meta minimum. You know, it's supposed to be at 5, 6, 7 million sales right now. People should be talking about it big time. It should still be doing very well on Twitch. Like, no.
That no amount of discounting will make up for a product that fundamentally misses the mark and nobody's interested in. The memo reads more like a corporate spin than a genuine reflection of failure. No mention of the controversies or deeper issues that are plaguing the company. They talk about how all players want are highly polished games on launch day, when the truth is players are craving meaningful, risk-taking, authentic content, things that Ubisoft hasn't seen in decades. Even in their own memo to their own employees, they can't speak frankly about their mistakes. This sanitized messaging shows just how deeply disconnected the company is from the people that it should be listening to, the players.
Yeah.
Interested in the perspective of the employees who received this memo, I had a few questions on their thoughts of the messaging and the leadership of the company. I asked, what has been the message from management to the staff about Ubisoft's declining sales? What do they believe is the reason behind it? They responded, the fun fact is they don't talk much about it. They mainly focus on the fact that they reach their financial objectives, which are mainly achieved through casual player sales, not the vocal gamer minority that are sick of what you described in your video. Also, something to know is that through the years, the number of management floors has increased to ridiculous amounts. So communication is often blurry unless they come directly from HQ, and even then, it's almost entirely corpo bullshit that isn't useful in the end. I asked another employee.
Wow. So what I just read is exactly what we've all knew, but the fact that that was their way of commenting on it, unbelievable. but just worried about the casuals, not the people who are complaining. So to them, it's not complaining. It's not seeing that we can see through all the crap. Everything we're saying is and doing is intelligent, wanting them to perform. But like, what? Okay, Ubisoft. Wow. You know what? Fuck you too. Yeah, that's what's happening to you in the worst way. Why you're crashing.
To verify the increase in management at the company, fearing that this is likely one of the biggest issues that's facing the company, seeing that lack of clear and creative vision, they painted a picture of a company that's not only overrun with management, but that's passively aggressive about removing higher paid and talented employees while slotting in underskilled and unexperienced management at a cheaper rate.
That's right.
They claim that Ubisoft as an employer shows little regard for their developers. What happens in practice is that they essentially push out senior engineers, promoting junior engineers to senior roles after just a few years of experience, oftentimes with experience in just one engine. Meanwhile, experienced developers with far broader skill sets are being overlooked. This constant cycle of turnover with inexperienced leaders leads to noticeable drops in quality, with bugs appearing in their games. The passionate, dedicated developers leave, while those who are just going through the motions stay behind. This doesn't just affect the technical quality of their games, but also impacts the design and creativity. For instance, you'll find designers working on FPS mechanics who have never played an FPS game before, or engineers who don't understand how the mechanics they're building are supposed to feel. There's a lack of passion and skill across the board, and the results are obvious. That line about
what the fuck? Yeah, we knew this, right? We talk about, hiring based off of quality, right? And we were talking about this before. We can tell it's not the same. There used to be behind the scenes developing compared to what we see now. And now you have a massive load of mediocre, decent people compared to just quality teams. Man, we've been talking about this with this DEI stuff. And here it is right in front of you guys' face, right out there from them. Oh boy.
designers working on FPS games and
Talk about lukewarm. Yeah, I might want to look into that.
leading FPS projects struck a chord with me. Not long ago, Ubisoft released XDefiant, a military shooter that was meant to compete with the likes of Call of Duty. However, since the game's release, they've lost the vast majority of their player base, with Ubisoft claiming that the game isn't dying, despite it reportedly losing 94% of its players on Xbox. Why is XDefiant ran into so many issues? Netcode, hit registration, and general shooter gameplay issues. Common problems that are normally ironed out well before a game ever hits the market, especially a shooter. It's core to the gameplay. If you're playing a live service shooter, all you do is shoot. That's the gameplay. But when the shooting doesn't work, you don't have a game.
Easiest games to
Ubisoft's
make.
leadership is completely disconnected from the reality of game development and player expectations. The problems stem from a bloated management structure that's prioritizing reaching financial targets through casual player sales, rather than listening to the core gaming community that's sick of their tired formulas. Even their own developers are frustrated as they watch as talented senior engineers are pushed out of the studios and inexperienced juniors are promoted far too quickly, leading to a noticeable drop in quality. It's
Big time. And then the overworld mania of the same thing over and over again would probably 1,000 dog marks on the map. You know what I mean? You just run like a dog around to it, chase the tennis ball, and then once you run out, you're just, what do I want to do next? I have nothing to chase, so let me get off the game and find something else to do it again. And it's just like, come on, man, y'all need to do something else. This is getting played out. Your formula's getting repetitive way too much, and you need to do better. You keep on releasing games that are not finished, but at least you never give up on your games. I guess I can give you a positive to that. But still, though, I mean, I'm getting tired of that crap this generation.
no wonder their games are riddled with bugs and lack any real innovation. This company is more focused on appearances rather than creating meaningful, engaging content. The quality of their games doesn't matter as long as they aren't offending anyone. When you see the issues that plague Assassin's Creed Shadows, the pandering, the generic virtue, the lies, the cover-ups, and the lack of understanding of what they're apparently inspired by, when you see how safe and tame, how boring, buggy, and soulless Star Wars Outlaws is, when you see how their most anticipated shooter in XDefiant is riddled with the most common issues, bugs, all kinds of different things that normal shooters would never have on day one, that's made by developers and led by developers that haven't even played an FPS game, You see a studio and a publisher that lacks integrity and a spine, cowards in leadership roles, afraid to loosen their grip on the wheel, developers afraid to speak out and unable to express any of their creativity, franchises destined for obscurity. Ubisoft isn't just losing its way, it's already lost. And the only thing left is to watch it burn. You know, it's crazy to speculate about these kind of things, but it's an entirely different beast to find out what you've been believing this entire time is absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I want to take the time to thank the developers that reached out to me. It was daring for them to do something like that. Obviously, their identities are being kept secret for very obvious reasons. Most of these folks could lose their job over having these kind of discussions.
Oh, yeah.
But keep in mind, what's really sad about this is that there are developers that are working at these studios that want to see things change, that want to fix things, that see these obvious issues, but they're not allowed to do anything about it. That sucks. It's something that all of us can empathize with. I'm pretty sure that anybody that's watching this video right now has likely worked with some level of management that took them in the wrong direction, and led them down the wrong path. You know, the biggest issue for Ubisoft is that the damage is already done. Their brand is already torched. Their name and their reputation is in shambles by now. And looking and seeing that they have pushed back Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's for obvious reasons. While they're going to say that it's
out the holidays, that's not an easy move. But yeah, let's do the Black History Month.
for fixing issues in the game. There's issues that we saw in the trailers, so that's totally believable. The game likely does need more time in the oven more than anything else. But outside of that, I really think it's just them trying to distance it from all of the bad press. Because there's a lot of people that have been talking about Ubisoft. There's a lot of people that have been talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it doesn't look good. And pushing it all the way to February, I don't think any of that's going to change anything. If anything, seeing how often they like to put their own foot in their mouth when it comes to Assassin's Creed Shadows, you're just giving me and a bunch of other content creators more time to farm you more than anything else. I was talking to one of the developers about the delay, and they're like, one of the things that really confused the whole group of developers is that they're like, well, we need more time to fix bugs and issues, but we're also going to add more quests and side content. They're like, those two things don't have anything to do with one another, and one creates more issues.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't make any sense. And also, you push it to February, the month that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds release. You're cooked. What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know, man. I want to thank everybody. Thank you guys for watching the last video as well. It was my first.
So yeah, this is a really interesting video here, y'all. And Japan, I hope you're tuned in too. I'll make sure to put that in my comments. Let me know what y'all think. Like, subscribe, y'all. Amazing stuff here. Glad this is trending because this is inside conversations from Ubisoft themselves. Oh boy, this is a big one. All right, y'all. You have a great day, evening, morning, wherever you're at. It's my usual ending here around the world. And what's coming next from the world of Ubisoft? Man, they should win an award and a Grammy for Controversy of the Year. All right, y'all. Peace.